The following takes place between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m.
I gotta tell you, one of the things on that site, I have a few dogs in my own practice that are practicing what that site talks about, and they have lost a ton of weight.
Really?
Yeah, really.
It's a good site.
Yeah, really is. So,
anyways, you had a couple other things you wanted to talk about with swine flu and the H1N1.
Okay. Just to say that, remember you were talking about, like, maybe people don't know this yet, and if you haven't read about it, you may not know it, but this particular virus that's in humans right now is a combination of two human influenza virus, two pig viruses combined with one avian virus combined with one human virus. There's all four of them in one. That's sort of with this new influenza, and of course then it's mutated.
So what you're saying is one pig was really nice to a bird and to another pig, and something happened.
Well, there you go. Okay.
That's pretty much what could have happened.
But being the fact that this virus has avian influenza in it, cats are susceptible to avian influenza.
So that's scary.
I wouldn't be worried too much about dogs, but you never know what's going to happen if this thing mutates and can get into the cat population. And going on to that, remember you were talking about that case, that there was a time in Florida, I think it was 2004, where there were a ton of greyhound dogs at a racetrack that died from a canine influenza, and that came from a horse influenza. So the horses that were racing there came down with the horse influenza that really didn't kill them. They got the signs, but then it got transmitted into dogs, and it mutated into a really virulent strain, and there were like tons of dogs dying of that disease at that time.
It's remarkable when you think about it, and this is what I was telling you before. All these diseases that we're getting right now, it could be bird flu, the avian flu that's coming out, all these things, Ebola, all these things, we've got to pinpoint to ourselves and saying, where are they coming from? Talk about the HIV virus, we talk about all these different things.
Well, yes.
These things have all stemmed from animals, and that's something that I want us to get across on this show. They stem from animals, and we didn't have a lot of these diseases a long time ago. And even if you talk about the Spanish flu, you're talking about mosquitoes,
right,
biting someone, taking the blood, and then biting someone else, and that's how you were infected. Once again, by another creature of the world we live in, other than humans. So how do we answer this question?
You said it. It's domestication. I mean,
well, that's the thing.
Right?
Once you open up more borders, once you keep chopping down more trees, once you do these things, these animals are susceptible to so many different things that we've never put them through over the nature of time. Think about Ebola.
And then we bring them into our society nice and close because we've domesticated them.
Exactly. Well, think about a scary disease. Think about Ebola. Ebola is a disease within 24 hours you are dead, and there is a 92% fatal rate for Ebola. And you got to remember, Ebola has come out 2 times, and they've managed to contain it right away. Because Ebola, a pandemic of Ebola, forget about it. Forget about it. As Mike likes to say, let's boogie. I don't know where we're going to boogie to, but we're going to all be boogied. But the whole point is that what are we doing as a society where all these things are coming out? Are we cramming too many pigs inside of a pig farm? Is this what the case is? Is that the animals are in such horrific conditions that these types of diseases happen?
Well, we talk about anything, and that's a good point, because influenza in people, the regular cold, how does it come about? The influenza virus is out there all the time. It's not like it starts and stops. It's always there. And then during moments of stress, right, weather changes, all these kinds of things, that's when people get the common cold. Well, that's just a simple influenza virus, and I know myself, when I see dogs with the parainfluenza virus, which is the sort of doggy version of a cold, they get it under stressful conditions. Either, they move to a new home, or they come out of, we see it a lot in pet stores, in shelters, because they're confined and there's high stress conditions, lots of
So tell me about the influenza in dogs right now. As you were saying, it's pretty much it's similar to a cold that we would get. I mean, it's not the same type of thing, but if you were to say, okay, well, what's the dog version to the human version?
Okay, well, the dog version is called kennel cough. And there's 2 components to it. One is a parainfluenza virus, and the other one is a bacteria, which I love the name of this bacteria. It sounds like an Italian cheese. It's Bordetella. Bordetella.
Can I have some extra Bordetella?
Bordetella bronchoseptica. So those are the 2 components of kennel cough. And if you get either one of them or both, 90% of dogs get a really nasty cough.
Happened to Romeo when he was about 2 years
youngster,
old.
yeah.
And it was like he was sneezing.
Yeah.
Like when a dog violently sneezes?
Yeah.
But it was a loud, horrible sound, but his whole body would shake, and it would be like every 2 minutes
Yep.
it would keep going on. And And when I called the vet at the time, I'm like, what do I do? There's like, well, there's really nothing you can do.
That's true, because the virus is the virus. And the same thing here. I memean, there are certain antiviral medications, thankfully, they've come out with for certain viruses that you need to take.
Yeah.
Like for AIDS, for instance. They have antiviral medications now for AIDS. But it is, most of the times, you just wait it out, because thankfully, viruses don't like to. Unlike bacteria, they hang around till they kill you. Viruses, they do their thing and then they're gone. It's kind of a strange principle around how viruses act.
So you were saying before, and actually we had Joe came up here and was a little bit concerned about the viruses that are in cats' mouths.
It's actually not a virus; it's a bacteria.
The bacteria that's in a cat's mouth, and you're saying it's a natural bacteria that's there,
right?
So how do they get this?
It's just that
it's always there.
It's always there. It's no different than if you took a swab of your own skin, you'd see that we all have this bug called Staph aureus. This is a cool one. Staphylococcus aureus, which is I love saying that, is a bug that normally sits on dog skin, it sits on cat skin, sits on human skin, normally. But in the wrong environment, that's the flesh-eating virus, flesh-eating bacteria. Bouchard, the flesh-eating bacteria is Staph aureus in it's a mutated form of Staph aureus. So you can take a completely harmless bug and turn it into a flesh-eating disease just by mutating it. So that's an example of bacterial mutation. Most often it's viruses that mutate, and that's why we get all these, like AIDS. I didn't even realize this, because we're learning a lot about feline AIDS through research on human AIDS, but these AIDS viruses are mutating all the time. Getting AIDS today is different than getting AIDS 30 years ago.
Oh, sure.
They're different strains, and they're.
Well, you got to think. Well, first of all, you don't get AIDS. You get the HIV virus,
right? Exactly.
Which is a completely different thing.
Right.
We were talking about this earlier on. Is that
HIV? That's what I meant. There's a number of different strains or different subtypes of HIV now.
And the issue is, first of all, it used to be a death sentence. It's not like that anymore. You can live a perfectly good life as long as you keep your antiviral medicines.
Right. Just like FIV. Did you know that FIV positive cats? I have one FIV positive cat in my practice who's survived for 8 years thus far. Yeah.
As long as you're on the proper medication.
Right. Exactly. You got to watch out. I mean, if they get sick, you got to be careful because their immune system is compromised. But yeah.
But we were talking earlier about that, and once again, that virus stems. Not proven, but I mean, everybody pretty much says this was the case, is that it stems from some sort of a monkey / gorilla or something like that in the wild.
Simian AIDS, right?
Exactly. Something like that in the wildlife. But what people don't understand is a monkey and a gorilla, they cannot get AIDS. Their HIV virus is maintained. That's why they're always testing these drugs on them, because they're the host.
They don't get sick from it.
Exactly. They don't get sick from it, and it never turns into the AIDS virus. So once again, this is stemming from animals. So 30 years ago, we got to think, what did we do 30 years ago or 40 years ago that was different from today? And what are we going to do in 20 years and 30 years from now? It's going to come back and bite us in the butt.
Well, hopefully it doesn't, because I got to tell you one thing that's really we see all the time, and I see FIV positive cats on a regular basis, and the FIV virus, which is the feline immunodeficiency virus, is the exact same virus as the human HIV virus.
Of course,
they're both retroviruses. They act the same way. They do the same. Animals get the same clinical signs, the whole 9 yards, and yet I've never, and there's been no proof whatsoever about FIV being transmitted to people and HIV being transmitted to.
But what happens if there's some sort of mutation?
Mutation. That's it. And you know what?
And it's a scary thing. Think about that.
Yep.
It's a scary thing. What happens if
it's
that's
the mutations that are the scary thing?
Oh, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have to get rid of all the cats in the world.
Well, I got to tell you, as a veterinarian, if I knew that I could get AIDS from a cat,
HIV.
Yeah, HIV. No, if I get HIV from a cat that had FIV, who was FIV positive, if an FIV positive cat bit me, and I had been bitten by an FIV positive cat, I'd be a little worried. I mean, it's not
like you're dealing with a person. You're dealing with an animal.
It's not like you put on gloves. These guys, they grab you. Yeah,
it's not cats. If they have their nails. They can be.
You have gloves on. They bite you. You're done.
And some interesting stuff we're being told right now. 140 people are infected in the United States with the H1N1 flu, and these are only confirmed cases. And they're
but thankfully, most of these people are having just mild flu symptoms.
Well, exactly.
Right? I mean, they have it, but they're not.
And you know what the thing is that when you look at the flu, the information about the flu, over 36,000 people die every year just in North America of the regular flu,
the regular everyday flu.
Yeah. But I mean,
but if you go look at who's dying from it, they're always immunocompromised, really young, or really old.
That's the dangerous thing about the H1N1. From the pig virus is because this has been targeting people that have been dying in Mexico that are in the ages of 20, 25, 26. It's not targeting
the older or the younger.
Exactly. It's hitting the people that are in their prime. Yeah. And this is a scary thing. And once again,